My earliest memories that I can think of as a child with my father are walking through airports and being in crowds and feeling in the vibrations of people's clapping and shouts in my chest. And just looking at my dad, like, who is this person? And it was all the time, anywhere we went. You're the greatest, we love you, and the clapping, and Muhammad. I loved feeling all the energy and the love that he felt.
We now think of Muhammad Ali as this vulnerable guy lighting the torch in Atlanta, and everybody on the globe loves him. Black people like him, white people. He's a universal hero, but almost in a religious way, like the Buddha. But when he was in the midst of his career, and not just in the early bit, he was incredibly divisive.
Boo, yell, scream, throw peanuts, but whatever you do, pay to get in.
People hated him, whether it was along racial lines, class lines, Vietnam lines, political lines, religious lines, where they just couldn't stand him. And people, of course, had the opposite, and this was, I loved him, loved him. But you had an opinion about him.
I ain't scared of nobody. It's gonna take a good man to whoop me. You can look at me, I'm loaded with confidence. I can't beat me. I had 180 hours to fight, 22 sacrifice, and I'm good as a girl.
Look how pretty I am.
My long trimmed legs and my beautiful arms and my pretty nose and mouth. I know I'm a pretty man. I know I'm pretty. You don't have to tell me I'm pretty.
I'm cocky, I'm proud.
You never talk about who's gonna stop me. Well, ain't nobody gonna stop me.
I say what I want to say. Ain't no more big niggas talking like this.
He was a pioneer. He was a revolutionary. He was a groundbreaker. A guy known simply as the greatest.
I am the greatest.
I've wrestled with alligators. I've tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning and put thunder in jail. You know I'm bad. I can drown a drink of water and kill a dead tree.
This will be no contest.
Wait till you see Muhammad Ali.
To have that chutzpah and to be a black man in America it was outlandish.
Muhammad means worthy of all praises, and Ali means most high.
And I just don't think I should go 10,000 miles from here and shoot some black people that never called me nigger. I just can't shoot it.
I always wonder why Miss America was always white. Santa Claus was white. White Swan soap, King white soap, white cloud tissue paper, and everything bad was black. Black cat was the bad luck, and if I threaten you, I'm gonna blackmail you. So Mama wanted to call it white male. They lied too.
I love being around him. I love being around Muhammad Ali.
You gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Ah, rumble, young man, rumble. Ah.
The price of freedom comes high. I have paid, but I am free.
Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose.
The winner and still heavyweight champion of the world. I am the greatest fighter of all time. Of all time.
Hey, I'ma keep on running, cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
He called himself the greatest, and then proved it to the entire world. He was a master at what is called the sweet science, the brutal and sometimes beautiful art of boxing. Heavyweight champion at just 22 years old, he wrote his own rules, in the ring and in his life, infuriating his critics, baffling his opponents, and riveting millions of fans. At the height of the civil rights movement, he joined a separatist religious sect whose leader would, for a time, dominate both his personal life and his boxing career. He spoke his mind and stood on principle even when it cost him his livelihood. He redefined black manhood, yet belittled his greatest rival using the racist language of the Jim Crow South in which he had been raised. Banished for his beliefs, he returned to boxing an underdog, reclaimed his title twice, and became the most famous man on earth. He craved adulation his whole life, seeking crowds on street corners, in hotel lobbies, on airport tarmacs, everywhere he went, and reveled in the uninhibited joy he brought each adoring fan. He earned a massive fortune, spent it freely, and gave generously to family, friends, even strangers, anyone in need. Service to others, he often said, is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. Even after his body began to betray him and his brain had absorbed too many blows, he fought on, unable to go without the attention and drama that accompanied each bout. Later, slowed and silenced by a cruel and crippling disease, he found refuge in his faith, becoming a symbol of peace and hope on every continent. Muhammad Ali was, the novelist Norman Mailer wrote, the very spirit of the 20th century.
I'm always gonna be one black one who got big on your white televisions, on your white newspapers, on your satellites, $1 million checks, and still look you in your face and tell you the truth and 100% stay with and represent my people and not leave them and sell them out because I'm rich and stay with them. That was my purpose. I'm here and I'm showing the world that you can be here and still free and stay yourself and get respect from the world.
Muhammad Ali was born Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. at Louisville City Hospital on January 17, 1942.
He weighed about 6 pounds 1 ounce, so I wouldn't call that a very large baby. He learned to talk before he was 1 year old, and he's always been a great talker.
His parents, Odessa Grady Clay and Cassius Marcellus Clay Sr., had married in 1941 and bought a tiny house at 3302 Grand Avenue in Louisville's West End, a black neighborhood that was home to working and middle-class families.
The West End had everything. We had our banks, we had our entrepreneurs, we had our newspaper. It was a community in which we were safe. I don't have a recollection of when I first met the Clays. It's almost as if you always knew them. Mrs. Clay, she loved everybody in the neighborhood. I mean, she was one of the ones that if anything happened, you always knew that you could run over there.
Odessa cooked and cleaned for white families and attended Mount Zion Baptist Church every Sunday.
Mama Bird, my grandmother, was very sweet, very quiet, and very pleasant, never spoke badly about anybody, very positive, spiritual woman, so outgoing and loving.
She was kind, and she was just sincere. And my dad truly received his gentleness and his kindness from his mom, Mama Bird.
Young Cassius never sat still. He pulled the pots and pans from the cupboard to bang on them, chased the family's pet chicken around the yard, and stood up in his stroller to get a better view.
Even as a young boy, he just had this huge personality, and he was always laughing and smiling, always making other people laugh. For my grandmother, she was like, this boy's going to be something special.
18 months after Cassius was born, Odessa gave birth to a second son, whom they named after the silent film star, Rudolph Valentino. Cassius and Rudy were exceptionally close. When his brother misbehaved, Cassius would insist that Rudy was his baby and refused to let their father spank him. Cassius Clay Sr., an artist who earned a living as a sign painter and muralist, had been named for a fiery 19th century white abolitionist. He loved to be noticed, often quoted from the Bible, and railed against racial injustice. Cash, as he was called, was a miniature volcano of a man, one observer said, boisterous and cocky.
Papa Cash was charismatic, he was funny, he had the biggest personality. He lit up a room when he walked in. Everyone just wanted to talk to him, everyone wanted to know him.
My father could sing, dance, paint, draw, memorize poetry. My brother got his talent from my father.
My dad, he's certainly a combination of Mama Bird and Papa Cash for sure, but his charisma definitely came from Papa Cash.
His father was a race man, and he believed that his career, and like so many others, was held back by the color of his skin. And he believed that he was a brilliant painter, an artist, but he was relegated to painting signs in front of stores and painting church murals and scraping to make a living because he didn't have the same kind of opportunity that white painter might have had.
Papa Cash was also an unrepentant womanizer who could be violent when drunk. He was arrested regularly for disorderly conduct and reckless driving.
And he occasionally hit his wife, and there were police involved at times when she had to call to protect herself. And I think for the boys growing up, for Cassius and for Rudy, it was a frightening environment at times to see their mother being threatened. And as they got older, they would step in and try to put a stop to it.
After one incident, police arrived at the Clay home to find young Cassius with a bloody gash on his leg. His father had cut him with a knife when he tried to protect his mother during an argument between his parents. The officers did nothing. Despite the violence, Cassius and Rudy would speak of their home life as peaceful and happy.
My father, coming up in the segregated South in Louisville, Kentucky, had a difficult time. Mama Bird taught him, you know, people are cruel in this world, but you never, 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 you know, become that.
The Louisville of Cassius Clay's youth was strictly segregated, and opportunities for African Americans were limited. He attended all black schools, could not eat at the lunch counters of downtown stores, and watched from the other side of the fence as white families enjoyed a nearby amusement park.
Young Cassius Clay was aware very early of the differences between black and white and how differently he and his family were treated, and would ask his father, "Why can't I be rich?" And his father would just point to the color of his skin and say, "That's why you can't be rich."
In 1955, news of the brutal torture and murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till by white men in Mississippi, and graphic images in Jet magazine of his mutilated face, haunted Cassius Clay, who was just 6 months younger than Till.
That really affected my father, like a lot of people in that time. He saw himself in Emmett Till and thought, wow, this outgoing kid from the city, and he came and he whistled at a pretty lady, and now he's dead, and you can't even recognize his face.
It was astonishing when we found out about Emmett Till. His mother said, leave the casket open, and you could see how they brutalized him. And so everybody saw that. It was really kind of scary for everybody in the community, because if they could do that to him, what could they do to us? That's when young black guys started to change.
At the Virginia Avenue Colored School, Cassius Clay had a hard time paying attention.
He struggled with his classes. He struggled to read, he struggled with math. He was most certainly dyslexic. He found, like a lot of people who have trouble in school, that he had to compensate, and by being the class clown was the way he did that. He would carry a purse to school. He wore lipstick one day to get laughs. He was willing to do things that boys in the 1950s didn't often do. Even as a young man, people just loved to be around him. He made them feel good about themselves.
One day in October of 1954, 12-year-old Cassius rode his bicycle into downtown Louisville while Rudy sat on the handlebars. It began to rain, and the boys took cover in the Columbia Auditorium, where a home appliance show was underway. After the rain stopped, they emerged to find that the bicycle was gone.
He had a brand new Schwinn, a beautiful red bicycle that he shared with his brother. And he went running around looking for his bicycle and then ran back into the community center asking for help. Someone told him there was a police officer in the basement.
He went down, and the cop in the basement was this Joe Martin, who was running a little boxing school.
Cassius told the story years later that for a minute he forgot about his bike because the sight of this boxing gym, the smell of the leather and the sweat, and the excitement, the action of boys in a ring hitting each other, black and white together.
And he, reported the crime, and I'm going to get the guy, and I'm going to, kill him. Joe Martin said, well, do you know how to fight? Fight. And that was the beginning.
Though his father was reluctant to let his son train with a white police officer, the lessons were free, and Cassius was eager to learn. At first, the young boxer did not impress Martin. He was just ordinary, the trainer recalled, and I doubt whether any scout would have thought much of him.
Cassius didn't show any special talent right away, but he showed enormous passion. He knew instantly that this was what he wanted to do. Boxing was perfect for him because there's just two guys in the ring, and your eye is always going to be drawn naturally to the one who's doing the most moving, who's doing the most punching, who's moving the fastest. And that was him, and he knew that he could get the most attention that way.
Just 6 weeks after he walked into Joe Martin's gym, Cassius Clay had his first amateur fight.
I, at that time, was putting on a local television show here in Louisville, and I had amateur bouts every Saturday afternoon. The first bout I put him in, he weighed 87 pounds.
After defeating 14-year-old Ronnie O'Keefe in a split decision, Clay immediately announced to everyone that one day he would be called the greatest of all time.
He was always been a little braggart. I'm the greatest and all that before he even got to be the greatest. We'd say, oh, shut up, precision running your mouth. But as he got better and better, we had more respect for him.
He believes in himself before there's any reason to, before anyone else is telling him that he might even have talent. It's so preposterous.
Cassius threw himself into training, determined to add muscle to his slender frame. He stopped drinking soda pop and substituted garlic water, which he believed would keep his blood pressure down.
Cassius Clay of Louisville, in the trunks with the white stripes, beat Jefferson Davis of Mobile, Alabama.
Clay realized early that he was unusually quick and agile, able to avoid punches by leaning back rather than ducking or slipping side to side as boxers were instructed to do.
It's Cassius Clay, the winner, over Jefferson Davis.
Some nights, Clay went from Martin's gym to the Grace Community Center across town, where he continued his boxing education under Fred Stoner, a veteran trainer who had guided many local amateurs to success at the Golden Gloves. Away from the gym, he sought boxing wisdom wherever he could find it. When the well-known trainer Angelo Dundee came to town, Cassius peppered him with questions. Dundee was impressed by the teenager's determination and ambition.
They want to find out how fighters train, the business about diet, and everything else. And he was very, very curious at that time.
Before each fight, Cassius Clay would go door to door across Louisville, introducing himself to white and black residents alike.
His strategy was to sell tickets. Any way I could entertain and sell tickets, this is what I'm going to do. And that's what he did. He did a real good job at that.
Clay was often absent from high school, competing in amateur tournaments. When he did attend class, he sketched boxing gloves and leather jackets stitched with National Golden Gloves champion in his notebook and offered to sign autographs for his classmates.
Bet my classmates that I would beat them to school. They would ride the bus.
He would run up Chestnut Street with the local transit bus just to get himself conditioning, and then run from Chestnut Street to all the way over to Broadway and come back. And he would sometimes stop to look to see the ladies in there or whatever, something like that, and keep on running.
Bus might get a block or two lead on it. I would always catch up to it when it stopped for passengers or stop for a red light or something.
It was funny. It was really funny. And he'll wave, hey, I'm going on. I say, he's a strange person. Why is he running with us?
In February of 1958, a month after his 16th birthday, Clay traveled with Joe Martin and a group of Louisville hopefuls to Chicago for the Golden Gloves Tournament of Champions. It was his first national competition. He lost in the quarterfinals. 1 year later, taller and heavier, he made it to the tournament finals, where he defeated 29-year-old Australian-born Tony Madigan, a two-time Olympian who was favored to win. The decision was unanimous. I couldn't stick him, Madigan said. He would always just pull out of range, sort of vanish into thin air. Cassius Clay was now the Golden Gloves light heavyweight champion. A win at the National Olympic Trials in San Francisco would earn him a spot on the team headed for the 1960 Rome Olympics. But there was a problem. He was afraid of flying. So afraid that he considered turning professional rather than compete for a chance to go to Italy.
He hated flying. He was scared to death of airplanes. He actually flew to the Olympic trials with a parachute that he bought at an Army Navy store that he wore on the plane.
At the Cow Palace in San Francisco, Clay defeated his first two opponents convincingly and advanced to the finals, where he faced Alan Hudson, an Army veteran and more experienced fighter.
In the 178-pound class, another Louisville boy, Cassius Clay, in the dark trunks, is pitted against the All-Army champion Alan Hudson.
In the third round, Hudson sent Clay to the canvas.
Cassius is up almost immediately, and after a check by the ref, he's back in action. Clay's chance to go to work. He wades into Hudson and sends him reeling into the corner. Hudson is really groggy and just about out on his feet.
The referee awarded Clay a technical knockout. He had earned a spot on the United States Olympic team. After the trials, Clay pawned a watch he'd won in the tournament and bought a train ticket home so he wouldn't have to fly. His graduation from Central High School was now just weeks away. He'd missed so many days and had such poor grades that many of his teachers felt Clay did not deserve a diploma. His principal disagreed. The only thing Cassius is going to have to read is his IRS form, he said, and I'm willing to help him do it. On his way to the Olympics in Rome, Cassius Clay first stopped in New York, where he hoped to meet his idol, former middleweight champion Sugar Ray Robinson, whom many believed the greatest pound-for-pound fighter in boxing history, known as much for his flashy style as for his prowess in the ring. While Clay waited outside Robinson's Harlem restaurant, hoping for a moment with his hero, he noticed a small crowd gathered around a well-dressed orator who was calling upon black people to shop only at black-owned businesses. The man belonged to a group called the Nation of Islam. How can he talk like that? Clay wondered. Ain't he gonna get in trouble? When Sugar Ray finally pulled up in a purple Lincoln Continental, he had little time for his young admirer, hurriedly signing a photograph for Clay and wishing him luck. At first, Clay was awestruck. That Sugar Ray, he's something, he raved. Someday I'm gonna own 2 Cadillacs and a Ford for just getting around in. But later he remembered he felt snubbed. If I ever get great and famous and people want my autograph enough to wait all day, he said, I'm sure gonna treat them different. Then he nervously flew to Rome.
The 1960 Olympics were big and exciting in a lot of ways. The American team was led by Rayford Johnson. It was a very exciting time to be an Olympian. For Cassius, who'd really never traveled very far, this was really an eye-opener to see the world and to see people who spoke different languages. And he instantly became the mayor of the Olympic Village. He was not famous yet in any way, but his magnetism just was amazing. And you see instantly reporters and other athletes saying, who is this guy? We need to talk to him, and just clusters forming around him wherever he went.
Clay reveled in all the attention. He met Bing Crosby, flirted with the sprinter Wilma Rudolph, and posed for photographs with the current heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson. Be seeing you in about 2 more years, he said. This kid is irresistible, wrote one reporter. He even made friends with the Russians.
The Olympic athlete with the noblest Roman name of them all is Cassius Marcellus Clay. Actually, Cassius is no Roman at all, however. He's actually an 18-year-old light heavyweight who makes his home on Grand Street in Louisville, Kentucky, and he may very well become an Olympic champion.
Cassius Clay, he's America's light heavyweight. No one outside the States has ever heard of him. Clay beats a Belgian, a Russian, and an Australian. And now, he's in the final.
His opponent for the gold medal would be Zygzy Pietczykowski from Poland, who'd won Olympic bronze 4 years earlier.
The Pole is 25. He's been unbeaten champion of Europe for 5 years.
For 2 rounds, the men measured each other.
Clay, a rather deceptive, casual way of throwing punches, and he punches very hard.
In the 3rd and final round, Clay took command.
Oh, good shot by Clay then. Looks like Pietczykowski is bleeding from the mouth a bit. Pietczykowski now definitely bleeding at the nose and mouth, rather heavily. There's the end of the fight.
Cassius Clay had won the ultimate prize in amateur boxing. He flew back to New York, where a Louisville millionaire paid for the boxer's suite at the Waldorf Towers Hotel and gave him a roll of bills, which he used to dine on steaks and buy expensive watches for his brother and parents. Later, decked out in his gold medal and Olympic blazer, Clay visited Times Square, where he paid to have a novelty newspaper printed up with the headline, "Cassius Signs for Patterson Fight," tried his first slice of cheesecake, and at Birdland, a popular jazz club, asked the bartender for a Coke with a single drop of whiskey. Everywhere he went, well-wishers praised him for his success in Rome. At Louisville's airport, hundreds of fans were there to greet him.
Cassius, you've heard it a good many times today already here at the airport, but congratulations. Let's take a look at that real gold medal there.
Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. was just 18, but he'd fought more than 100 amateur bouts and was ready to turn professional.
Dempsey hurts him along the rope, beating away with both hands. Watch, there's that big left, and Willard's down.
Professional boxing had long been among the most popular sports in America.
The appeal of boxing is basic. I mean, it's man against man. It's brutal. It's blood sport. It'll always be here, and it will always have people watching.
Everybody knew who the heavyweight champion of the world was, in the way that you know who the President of the United States is. And you knew his personality, what he represented, what he projected into the world.
John L. Sullivan, Jim Jeffries, Jack Johnson, Jack Dempsey.
When there be traitors!
Joe Louis had lifted the spirits of African Americans everywhere when he seized the heavyweight title in the midst of the Great Depression and held it for 12 years. But by the 1950s, gangsters ran the sport, tarnishing its reputation.
Boxing was kind of an anarchy in many ways. You had the official licensing organizations that ran the sport, but there was no real governance to it at all. And it was often controlled by mafia figures, people who would fix fights, people who would extract huge sums of money from their fighters and leave them not just wrecked physically, but broke. That was something that was almost inevitable for boxers, that they were going to get involved in this underworld, and that to make it in the sport, you almost had to associate with those characters.
Boxing insiders saw that Clay could be a big moneymaker in the heavyweight division. Cus D'Amato, Floyd Patterson's savvy cornerman, offered to train him. So did former heavyweight champion Rocky Marciano. If you desire to have an excellent manager, the veteran fighter Archie Moore cabled, call me tonight. Then, William Faversham, an executive at a Louisville distillery, formed a syndicate of 11 prominent white businessmen with deep Kentucky roots.
I'm Bill Faversham.
I'm W.L. Lyons Brown. J.D. Stetson Coleman.
They agreed to pool their money to launch Clay's career and shield him from the mob.
Cassius Clay was offered the greatest contract in the history of boxing. It was a complete anomaly. There was nothing like it ever before. And in fact, the lawyer who wrote the contract said he had to go outside the industry. He went to Hollywood and looked for contracts that were given to child actors to see how they could best be protected.
We offered him a $10,000 bonus for signing a contract. This contract ran for 2 years, where we paid him a salary, because after all, we didn't know what he could earn.
Boxers didn't get salaries, a monthly salary for boxing.
We wanted to guarantee him some form of security. At the same time, he also got 50% of his purses.
We're going to pay all his expenses. We're going to pay his meals. We're going to pay his rent. We're going to pay for his training. We're going to set it up so that there are tax deductions. There had never been anything like it in boxing.
They hoped to see a return on their investment, but as one member remarked, they were in it to do something nice for a deserving, well-behaved Louisville boy and to save him from the jaws of the hoodlum jackals. Clay used his bonus to buy the Cadillac he had coveted since he was a boy, though he hadn't bothered to get a driver's license.